I'm John Harwood with the New York Times and CNBC. I've spoken this week here at the Democratic National Convention in Denver to two of the senior members of the Democratic Party, former National Chairman Don Fowler of South Carolina, Democratic National Committee member Harold Ickes. He comes from New York. They've been coming to Democratic conventions for the last 40 years, and we talked about what's changed in these conventions, what's been lost, and what's been gained. Is that something you miss about conventions? Does it matter that we don't have real news breaking out?
Well, it was a lot more fun when we did real things and made real decisions. But the whole circumstance surrounding conventions and the whole nature of American politics has changed. Both parties have gone through reform that required the delegates to be pledged to specific presidential candidates in the state processes.
With most of them selected through primaries by voters.
Primaries and caucuses, but most of them by primaries. Yes, you're correct. So in most years, we know who the nominee is 3, 4, 5 months before the convention. The conventions now are 4-night miniseries. Everything possible is controlled in the convention to shape the message of the party, to shape the image of the party, so the people out there watching either on the cable news network or through the broadcast networks will get this sense that this is a group that's in control, they've got a good message, they know what they want to do, and that impression makes a great deal of difference. If you have a convention and don't get a 10 or a 12-point bump out of it, increase in the polls, you haven't had a good convention. So it is a theatrical production. They're still exciting, but not as exciting as the old conventions. Television has made a real difference in this, John. And the old smoke-filled room, if you go back and read the 32 convention with Roosevelt and all of the shenanigans and plotting, television wouldn't permit that. Can you imagine yourself outside of a smoke-filled room in a hotel, guys in there drinking bourbon and smoking cigars? That's where the decisions were made. Television, the American public wouldn't stand that now. That combined with the pledging of the delegates has changed the conventions entirely.
If we had the older system, where convention delegates actually decided a nominee and primary voters weren't in control as they are now, would we have better or worse nominees and campaigns?
Oh, baby, I don't know the answer to that. The old system gave us Roosevelt. The new system, partway to the new system, gave us John Kennedy. It gave us Ronald Reagan and gave us Bill Clinton. So, I don't think that it's predictable as to which system produces the best candidate. The system we have now, while it takes a little of the zing out of conventions, is much more democratic. The delegations to the conventions in the old system were controlled by governors, senators, big city mayors, state chairs, and things like that. It truly was quite undemocratic, and particularly in the Democratic Party from the South. It was all white, and I mean, that's just intolerable now. So we are more democratic, but I can't make much judgment about the quality of the candidates.
Harold, we all know that 1968 was a disastrous convention for Democrats. Tell me a little bit about how the convention experience is different today than it was in 1968.
Well, first of all, it's peaceful, it's orderly, it's on time, and there's no disruption. I think in broad brush, John, conventions have changed dramatically with the advent of television. It took us a long time. I think the Republicans were way ahead of us on figuring out that conventions no longer make decisions. They ratify decisions of the primary voters, and they are now big message conveyors. And the the trick of the convention now is to figure out what you want your message to be and keep all the multitude of speakers on message to frame the general election.
Is that something, the loss of decision-making as a function at the convention, that you lament? Do you think there's anything lost in that, or is that all to the good as you adapt conventions to the realities of modern politics?
I think it's to the good. It started with the rules revolution that I was a part of, and many others were a part of, coming out of the '68 convention, in which we really shifted the decision-making process from the convention itself to the primary and caucus electorate. I think that's good. I think it's good for the party, and I think it's good for our process.
When you got into the Civil Rights Movement in 1964, saw what happened at the 64 Democratic Convention, did you think it was possible for an African-American nominee to emerge from your party in your lifetime?
No. If anybody had said in the 1960s that our party would be nominating an African American as our standard bearer, I think people would have just looked at the ceiling.
Harold, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Good. Thank you.
I'm John Harwood, Chief Washington Correspondent for CNBC.